I want to warn everyone, I am not a morning person. However, today we are reading in the morning, being more efficient, being more productive with my life. Also, as you might remember from yesterday's video, I got a little bit tetchy. And the thing that thankfully, I have this great strategy whenever I feel annoyed that no one, no one around me is capable of thinking. I realize it's not specific groups of people. Just go online and watch other people be incapable of thinking. And today I actually had the marvelous pleasure of being reminded that I too am sometimes incapable of thinking. And don't need to go into all of that, but it seems in art I too have been misled by propaganda and appeals to tyranny. How evil can so easily cloak itself in the words of goodness. And I think with that comes a little bit of humility, a little bit of understanding for what, because this is what I perceive is being or has been happening with this book. But what's more important than keeping on reading? So the next chapter called Sheba. Now we've already touched on Sheba. I'm sure you remember Sheba was I think she's the queen who was conquered, or it was the kingdom. I don't remember, or the queendom, I guess, that was conquered by Solomon, where he's like, "Oh, she's trying to bribe me," but actually, and then he invades and he gets somebody to steal her throne. Maybe we'll get more details. It was a little bit vague in the first telling of the story. A little bit. It feels like it skipped some parts. But the introduction I have a Meccan surah that takes its name from the people of Sheba who are blessed and then punished for their ingratitude. Verses 15 to 21. The prophet is first encouraged through references to David and Solomon and how God favored them. The disbelievers of Mecca are warned through a description of the torment that awaits them on the day of resurrection. Oh, I want more than warning. Two references are made to their accusing the prophet of madness. Verses 8 and 46, and this charge is thoroughly refuted. Oh, indeed. Now that I look forward to. That indeed I look forward to. But yeah, a little bit of storytelling, a little bit of an expansion of a story I don't know very much about. So let's crack on with it. Oh, we'll even jam up the chair back. Be ready. Praise be to God, to whom belongs all that is in the heavens and earth, and praise be to him in the life to come. He is all wise and the all aware. He is the all wise, the all aware. He knows all that goes into the earth and all that comes out of it. He knows all that comes down from the heavens and all that goes up to them. He is the merciful, the forgiving. So I do want to. It might be more. Okay, so we're gonna go there. But gonna go to what I say, what the disbelievers say. Well, obviously it's the people. Somebody has explained to me. It's the people who refuse to believe, even though they like. It's a word game. Just be clear of that. But what's interesting here is another word game is, and one of the reasons, so I did. How long was that ago? What 9 months ago? I did a live stream, and thinking about it, I want to make that into a video because I think pretty much all theology arguments, and I mean like proper theology arguments, like the logical arguments that have nothing to do with the specifics of God, but have like this general need for existence. I feel they're all semantic arguments, and one of the things that I always like stumble with is the fact that there are nature like these things describe nature, these things describe sort of an awareness of the grandness of something beyond you, but for some reason we always ascribe to these we anthropomorphize these deities. Like it's not enough that there is some necessary being or some perfect being. It also has to have a mind. It has to be all wise and all aware. It has to be merciful and forgiving. And it's like, why? And that's kind of why I wouldn't call it God. So my criticism of theology is that all theological arguments are essentially arguments of the form some adjective or noun, let's call it God. some arbitrary thing that you think is necessary or that has to exist. So therefore, let's call it God. And then at that moment, I go, well, why call it God? Why call it God? And the reason I think it's a problem to call it God is this: He is merciful, the forgiving. He is all wise, the all aware. So, to whom belongs all that is in the heavens and the earth? Praise be, to whom belongs all the heavens and earth? Okay. The ownership, the concept of ownership, you can sort of extend that metaphorically to all of existence. And it's like, okay, fine. The thing that is owns everything. Okay, but why all wise and all aware? And he knows something that knows everything. That's like the universe has inscribed knowledge of everything in a deterministic universe. Like knows everything that goes in and comes out of the earth, knows everything that comes down from heavens and goes up to them. Like understanding of the natural world around us. And then we go, he is merciful, the forgiving. And it's like, why do we need to ascribe personality to these things, these that are beyond us? Why, like, I understand it gives some sort of comfort, some sort of like I've mentioned before, the serenity prayer, the whole thing that it's useful for people to be able to accept the way things are. Uh, but theologically speaking, like logically speaking, even there is a problem with calling all of these beings or anthropomorphizing this otherness. Like instead of going like the other way around where we try and deduce, like we go, well, this is what we see, therefore this is the attribute. This is what we see, therefore this is the attribute. Here we go, well, this is what we see, so we don't go from this is what we see. We go from attribute to inscribing these attributes onto what we see. So we have attributes that we think are necessary or that we think belong in something that is beyond us, and then we sort of ascribe this to the thing that we can tell is beyond us. The thing that, like, all of nature, like the entirety of the universe, that is beyond us. Everyone is lesser than the great vastness of the universe. Why the universe has to be merciful and forgiving, I have no reason to believe. So it's sort of the problem with anthropomorphizing natural phenomena like rain, like the winds, like earthquakes. It's problematic to do that because you don't gain any understanding. If we do it the other way around, you go like, well, God does good and evil things constantly. He just does randomly things. But because we've already decided that he is merciful and forgiving, then it's like, oh, well, there always has to be a purpose to his evil, and his good is self-sufficient, right? We always try and invent reasonings to justify the evil, but the good is already proof of the things we already believe. But then bad isn't disproof of what we believe. We just have to think more about it. Well, that's why we imply. That's what I mean when I tell people in my comment sections that you're closed-minded the other way around, because in order for this to make any kind of sense, you just like the good is proof and the bad needs to be rationalized. Well, if you just flip it around and the bad is proof and the good needs to be rationalized, well, then you reach the opposite conclusion. Then it's literally the work of the devil, right? But so you kind of see that there's a problem with trying this way of thinking, and I display this problem by thinking the opposite way. However, the most logical conclusion, let's just be absolutely clear, the most logical conclusion is that the universe operates with rules that aren't easily described by mercy and kindness and goodness. The universe is not anthropomorphized, it's mechanical. It's unflinching, uncaring, unfeeling. It doesn't even know that we suffer. So, from the universe's perspective, from nature's perspective, it's not really necessary. Honestly, early morning, I'm rambling more. I did not expect this. I thought it would be the other way around. I thought it'd be tired and not not at all talkative. But that was really bad. I should turn away when I'm drinking from this bottle. I might actually, in that case, I might try and edit that sound out, but I probably won't remember it. So let's go. Still the disbelievers say, the last hour will never come upon us. Say, yes, by my Lord it will, by him who knows the unseen. Not even the weight of a speck of dust in the heavens or earth escapes his knowledge, nor anything smaller or greater. It is all recorded in a clear record, so that he can reward those who believe and do good deeds. They will have forgiveness and generous provision. So the answer to Na'ah is Yaha, but more words. Like, none of these words actually do anything for us. Like, if God is genuinely telling Muhammad here what to tell people, then he's like warning is honestly a little bit excessive here, because that's too nice. To call it a warning is too nice. What he's doing is just saying, yeah, it's just like literally like somebody tells you, I don't believe you, and he's like, well, actually, I'm right and you're wrong, so you'll just know that eventually that I'm right and you're wrong, and it doesn't really matter what you believe because I'm right and you're wrong. It's like, well, they are saying that to you, you blithering idiot. Like, why is it more true when you say it than when they say it? Because you used more words, you got the last word, so therefore it's true. You got to write it down, and they didn't get their retort down. What? What is this? Like, either God is stupid or Muhammad is stupid. One of those two people are genuinely not be able for critical thinking. And I, like, if it's God, then I understand that Muslims can't say it, because, of course, if you even think that God is evil, he will punish you, because that's the kind of evil God we are dealing with. But if you don't, like, if you just asking yourself, if it's just Muhammad that's or stupid, then you kind of get to the point that actually maybe, like, you can believe in a God and it be have genuine value, but sort of understand, I think it's wrong, and I think it's like the vast preponderance of the evidence leads to another conclusion, but I think it's more wrong to think that the God of this Quran is anything good. But I think it's more likely then that the person who's failing us here, the person who's failing our reason, sorry about the sound again, is Muhammad. This is the person who's communicating this to us. The step between, or probably even worse, it might even be the people who listen to Muhammad. Maybe they're just stupid, and maybe it was the people who told them to write it down afterwards, like the people who finally survived. Maybe only the stupidest one survived. This idea is sort of a point. No advertising or blacklisting, I guess. I guess watching me do this is probably not advertising. Oh yeah. So you're right, I'm wrong. Good for you. Everyone can do that. But as for those who work against our revelations, seeking to undermine them, there will be a torment of painful suffering. So again, like, if you believe what's written here, it's an evil God, and I understand then that you can't ever admit it's an evil God. But it's actually, I was thinking about this when I was walking, and it's, I think, a fair point is like, or obviously I think my own points are fair, but the thing I want to reflect on here is this insight that, like, I can take the brunt here. Obviously, I'm going to the torment anyway, so who cares about my soul? I'm like, God, if he is this God, he's going to punish me regardless. So let me bear the brunt of saying things as they really are. God is evil. God will punish you for the most minor of transgressions, mainly not praising him enough. Praising him is the most important thing to him. He's an egotistical narcissist, but he's also the most powerful being that could possibly exist. So no one can stop this egotistical narcissist from being an egotistical narcissist. No one can teach him a lesson. No one can make him see the error of his ways. Nothing will ever be good enough for this egotistical narcissist. So all we can do, and nobody can stop him. So the best you can do with this universe, with an evil God, is to bow down and beg this egotistical narcissist to at least give you, to at least not punish you, to at least not evoke his ire, at least not do anything to inspire his anger. And so we should all believe. It's like Pascal's wager on steroids, right? It's just say it, just go along with it, my friend. It's God is not evil. Please trust me. I can't say that he is, because then he'd punish me. I can't even think that he is, then he'd punish me. But you should go along, because, And this subtly implied thing here, God is so evil that he doesn't care that you're simply doing this for your own curiosity. He doesn't care that you're simply exploring ideas for the sake of exploring ideas. He doesn't care about critical thinking or wisdom or any of these things. And he definitely doesn't care that actions speak louder than words. Any slight, perceived or otherwise, will result in punishment. And your best bet, your only hope not to suffer against this evil God, is by not admitting to yourself that he's evil. So apparently I can be the scapegoat here and say the quiet part out loud, even though I think it's been said more and more recently. That, yeah, that's, I think, what the argument essentially boils down to. God is evil. Please trust me. I can't say God is evil because then he'll punish me too. But God is evil, so you have to worship him. Please, please, for your own sake. Please don't bring this horrible torment upon yourself. This monster will do what I want, whatever you say and do or think, especially what you think, I guess. So yeah, that's the framing. That seems to be like what the argument is I'm getting at this point from the book. It seems maybe Muhammad like heard Pascal's wager in a bar at some point, or probably not in a bar, but like at some point in his travels and his journeys as a traveling merchant, and he sort of, oh shit, I'm gonna have to save all of these people from this cruel tyrant who rules the universe, and who will punish us just for the fun of it, will punish us just for daring to think differently. Mistake, almost certainly. No real reason, but I understand. Like, Pascal's wager fails because of the problem with, well, what if it's a different god? Well, what if it's Odin's god? What if, like, the rules are different? Like, well, no, I'm this messenger. Well, therein lies the problem. I guess in that case, Muhammad was made in God's image. Very much an imitation of that. Prophet, those who have been given knowledge can see what has been sent to you from your Lord can see that what has been sent to you from your Lord is the truth, and that it leads to the path of the Almighty, worthy of all praise. Those who have been given knowledge. But not those, so like, oh, if you believe in this, you're knowledgeable. If you don't, you're just denying the truth, right? So this rationalization constantly. Everything that's like indicates towards the belief, that's proof that it's knowledge, that proves that it's true. Anything that indicates away from it, that's actually just lies and deceptions and delusions. Worthy of all praise, not at all. Clearly not at all. Not even by his creation. It's riddled with silly mistakes and shortcuts and just laziness. Like, you study nature, study science, and you go like, well, it's very, very impressive, but also very, very lazy, very efficient, which is cool, but it's clearly not made for us. So, I guess this is the evil god again. It's like, well, since you're here now, and I only really wanted amoebas, I spent billions of years curating this planet, and it mainly had amoebas. I got bored, and then we made some dinosaurs. I got bored with them too eventually, and now here you are, and I didn't even want you. I wanted the rat people, but I guess we'll accept it. You conquered the planet, fine, but I don't like you, so you're gonna have to praise me otherwise. But the disbelievers say, shall we show you a man who claims that, when you have been utterly torn to pieces, you will be raised in new creation? Has he invented a lie about God? Is he mad? No, it is those who do not believe in the life to come who will suffer torment, for they are in gross error. Again, yaha, na'a, yaha, na'a, yaha. Okay. Like, shall we show you a man who claims that when you have been utterly torn to pieces, you will be raised? Like, so, okay, what are you talking about? Like, it's worth, like, if somebody else had told you this right now, somebody else walks up to you and tells you, actually, we should save the environment, we should all go vegan, right? That actually God wants us to be vegan, not just no pork, no, completely vegan, because we need to save the environment. And he says, well, what would you tell him? You'd say, or else you'll be suffering in eternal torment. Well, would you tell him? You would tell him that he was mad. And then he would say, well, nah, because actually, God will punish anyone who doesn't agree with me, so you're wrong. And it's like, this doesn't make any sense. You're still mad. It's still madness. This is not refuting madness, as I was told that I was promised a refutation. I don't get one. Why? Do they not think about what is in front? Well, actually, maybe here we go. Here we go. Okay, finally. I jumped the gun. Do they not think about what is in front of them and behind them in the heavens and the earth? Yes, that's specifically what I'm doing. If we wished, we could make the earth swallow them, or make fragments from the heavens fall down upon them. There truly is a sign in this for every servant who turns back to God in repentance. So again, when refutation, according to this book, or according to the introduction, let's be fair, but to be clear, actually, the argument, the book itself, does sort of claim that this is the answer to these kinds of criticisms. So it is like the refutation here, in big quotation marks, is you will be punished for not agreeing with me. God is so powerful he could punish. In what universe does this make sense? Only the universe in which God is evil. Or indeed or actually several universes. The universe of God is evil, or the universe in which Muhammad is mistaken. Either mistaken from stupidity, from lies, from his own delusions, some madness. There are so many ways in which someone can be wrong, and most people will experience this several times in their lives. And if you don't think you have, you probably the worst. You probably only believe wrong things. The people who are most confident that they do not have anything wrong in their or are not wrong about anything are the ones who are typically the most wrong about everything. But indeed, we graced David with our favor. We said, you mountains echo God's praises together with him, and you birds too. We softened iron for him, saying, make coats of chainmail and measure the links well. Do good, all of you, for I see everything you do. So we softened iron for him. Like heat? Is the fire God? Is any fire God? The fire of the forge, is that God? Or is it just any description of nature? Or is it any description of the physical laws of the universe as being anthropomorphized into this being? Is this not just paganism but unified, like more efficient paganism? But yeah, make coats of chainmail and measure the links well. Well, good. Did God give him knowledge of how to make chainmail? We can study the invention of things and see how they spread around. That's one of the reasons why I'm why did he only communicate in the Middle East? Well, it makes sense if it's the dissemination of information, because that's trade route nexus, loads of people from different areas, loads of different gods, loads of different ideas. They're kind of meshing together in this medley pot. Meshing together with medley pot. That's not a medley. Is a meshing together of songs. Melting pot is the word I was thinking of. Melting pot, appropriate. But anyway, so he gave who? David iron working. So before that, presumably they were Bronze Age. And we subjected the winds for Solomon. Its outward journey took a month, and its return journey likewise. It's not even that impressive, or that's not even that far. We made a fountain of molten brass flow for him, and some of the jinn worked under his control with his lord's permission. If one of them deviated from our command, we let him taste the suffering of the blazing flame. And we're getting this impression of God, the whipmaster, with all of his petty little servants, his little jinn, running around and very brutally demanding obedience. Yeah, I mean, what more can you say? Yeah, we let him, if one of them deviated from our command, does this not sound like a fascist god? Is this not something freedom-loving people would oppose? Are you really shocked that we in the West don't accept Islam when this is what we get, when this is what your book says. It's violently against anything we believe in, and violently against thousands of years of progress. Oh well. They made him whatever he wanted: palaces, statues, basins as large as water troughs, fixed cauldrons. We said, work thankfully, family of David, for a few of my servants are truly thankful. For few of my servants are. It so sounds like, okay, so the like it so definitely sounds like this how so the video I watched before today was about Transformers being fascists, and this very much reminds me of, like, I can envision God as like Megatron, or as Optimus Prime, as the video sort of suggests, like brutally whipping people into shape. Megatron was the good guy according to that movie, and I really recommend that video. That's a great critical thinking tool. Um, but yes, few of my servants are truly thankful. So you must be thankful for everything we have given you, because that's the kind of God we're dealing with. We're not dealing with the kind of God who just wants you to do good and be good and have good things because he loves you. We're working with the kind of God who only loves you conditionally, as much as you thank him, as much as you're grateful to him. That's a conditional love. That's like, there, most people who have, like, very much recommend that in your life you unconditionally love people, and in turn are unconditionally loved. That's something that's good. That's something that humans do to each other all the time. But apparently, this great achievement of humanity is beyond God. Then, when we decreed Solomon's death, nothing showed the jinn he was dead, but a creature of the earth eating at his stick. Is that a dick thing? When he fell down, they realized if they had known that what was hidden, they would not have continued their demeaning labor. He fell down. If they had known what was hidden, they wouldn't. What? For God? The demeaning labor for God? Or do you mean, oh, the jinn realized if they had known what was hidden, they would not have continued. So God, is this God admitting that he lied to the jinn in order to convince them to work for him? What's going on here? To create Solomon's death, subjects the jinn who's dead, except determines eating away at his staff. Is that a dick? What? Oh, no. So when he collapsed, the jinn realized that they've really known the answer. The jinn realized if they had really known, they would not have reigned in such humiliating servitude. Oh no, so what it means is, oh, the jinn thought, oh, this man can die, we wouldn't serve him. It's only because God forced them to. The jinn would never serve something so pathetic as humanity, but God helped us. So everything good that humanity has ever done is actually because of these jinn who only worked for us because of God. So it's all actually God's fault that we invented fire, and we invented ironworking, and we invented metalworking in general. Like all of these things, actually, they're all because God forced the forces of nature to serve us. And they would not have done it if God had not forced them to. Ha ha ha. Well, that's interesting, especially since we go back to the whole thing that which places in the world are now the most good at working metal, the most competent at building things, the most confident at bending the rules of nature to our will? Well, the most secular ones, the ones who are the least religious. And indeed, actually, even at the time, the place where, which, like I harp on about how great the modern West is, but at the time, the most prosperous and most advanced technologically culture in the world was the Chinese. By far, like obviously they've caught up in large part, or they're still up there. But like at this point in time, it was no contest. Like nobody could compete with. They invented gunpowder for fun. They invented gunpowder for fireworks before cannons, right? So this, even in the context where this is being said, even on the planet this is being said, even in the world this was being spoken, the more powerful people did not believe. The people with whose jinn worked the most industriously for them did not believe. God helped people, but he especially helped the people who he especially helps the people who don't believe in him, then why, like, it's only for the hereafter we're supposed to worship him, or indeed for Muhammad's own glorification. There was a sign for the people of Sheba too, in their dwelling place. 2 gardens, one on the right, one on the left. Eat from what your Lord has provided for you and give him thanks, for your land is good and your Lord most forgiving. But they paid no heed. So we let loose on them a flood from the dam and replaced their 2 gardens with others that yielded bitter fruit, tamarisk bushes, and a few lote trees. Sparse thorny trees. I was going to look up what lote meant. In this way, we punished them for their ingratitude. Would we punish anyone but the ungrateful? Well, what would you punish the ungrateful? Like, only punishments, like, most of the time you punish the grateful for not being, or the slightly grateful for not being grateful enough, but the completely ungrateful are generally not being punished. It's funny how that works. Almost like it's a figment of your own imagination, this punishment, this ingratitude, this connection between ingratitude and punishment. It seems to be something that has been ascribed to nature without there being any evidence or any reason to believe it. Also, we had placed between them and the towns we had blessed other towns within sight of one another, to which they could travel easily. Travel safely in this land by night and by day, but still they complained. Our Lord has made the distance between our staging posts so long. They wronged themselves, and in the end we made their fate a byword and scattered them in countless fragments. There truly are signs in this for every patient, thankful person. I should stop reading the truly are signs things, because it's always like it's always nonsense. It's always just reiterating, well, you're just not grateful, you're just not patient, you're just arrogant for not agreeing with me. But because if we focus here, what's being happened? Our Lord made the distance from, like, people are allowed to, like, I understand that being able to, like, I always harp on about how important it is to being able to accept things as they are, but like the serenity prayer isn't just about serenity and patience and humility and thankfulness. It also has the strength to change the things can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And here, like, our Lord has made the distance between our staging posts too long. Yeah, that was a genuine concern. Like, people genuinely are allowed to be upset at this. And what they do with their upset, well, they build railways, they build airplanes. We progress, we advance, we change we build better roads, even on the more simple level. We, like, improve. We breed better horses, breed better oxen. We, like, make things easier for ourselves because of our own, like, our own rebellion against God. Our own rebellion against the natural laws is how we conquer these laws and turn them to our own advantage. It is our rebellion that is what makes us human. Our rebellion against nature. Like, it's this problem, and this problem persists, like this desire for religious people to return to the Garden of Eden, to return to this point where humans were just another part of God's creation, we're just another animal. It's basically these sort of Rousseauian idealism, this worship of nature, this worship of the the noble savage. This context of when, or it, and in this, what I'm trying to say here is that what I'm trying to say that is this attempt to go back to the Garden of Eden is really much more insidious when you really think about it than it kind of sounds. You're saying, give up on the computer screen you're watching me on. Give up on the internet. Give up on, like, the Amish are much closer, but even they're too far away. Like, the Garden of Eden, our true place in God's creation, was as an animal. And lesser, like, our ability to, like, sure, oh, but he taught us how to do metalworking and all that, and it's like, actually he wants us to have technology. But our desire to improve our lot, and our unwillingness to accept our lot, unwillingness to accept our place in Eden, that's what makes us do all of these things. That's what pushes us into making metal. That's what pushes us into changing the world, into building roads, into building machines that can take our place, that can do our work for us. So this attitude that we should just be grateful, it's useful sometimes when you cannot change the world you live in. Like death is useful to just, and sort of the randomness of who, like wealth and power, and these things is like, but even then, actually, the randomness of wealth and power, like there's been a lot of it, like accepting that some people will just have more out of their own greed, but they'll be punished in the hereafter. But actually, rebelling against these people has produced net positive effects through various times in history. Like being like, I'm not, I'm very pro-capitalist, but the workers' movements, the communist ideals in general, like these things actually pushed for greater workers' right. There were like less child labor, shorter work hours, more free time, and like more rights for individuals. So our unwillingness to just accept things, and unwillingness to just be patient and thankful, that's what makes us great. That's what makes us build things. And maybe like God is like watching all of us heathens do all this. All of us heathens like rebel against nature and change it. And God is like, how dare they? I must teach my own followers these tricks they have learned of their own accord so that they can catch up to these heathens. It seems like God is all constantly on the back foot in his war against humanity. And this book is describing God's war against humanity. And there we go. Satan was proved right in his opinion of them, for they all followed him, except for a group of believers, even though he had no authority over them. But we aim to distinguish those who believe in the life to come from those who doubt it, prophet. Your Lord observes everything. So they all followed him. So yeah, it's like the thing I said. Heathens, like, yeah, I pre-bunked it. The heathens were all powerful because Satan inspired us to be tempted by the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, our self-awareness engaging, the thing that cast us out from God's kingdom, the thing that made us leave the Eden. That made us leave the garden. That's our rebellion against nature. Like, sure, we all accepted it, and all except for the believers. But let's not actually flip it around. Like, it's, how would you know that what the heathens did isn't what God ultimately wanted, like the ultimate power? Like when I'm describing this being coming down and being like, look at all these people who have grown powerful. I must choose these who haven't grown powerful and make them as powerful as their neighbors so that they can proclaim my glory. Well, doesn't this just sound like what Satan would do? Could not Satan also say, well, actually, I'm God, and you should worship me and have no other gods, and this is my messenger, and you should do what he tells you? At what point are we proving that it isn't Satan? Like, I'm talking about this evil God who will punish you for just wrong thing. And like, at what point do we go, hang on, is the person talking to us right now the actual God or some pretender? How would you know? At what point do you engage your critical thinking and go, you know what, we've been wrong, or have we been wrong? Like exploring this idea, being able to at least consider the idea that you might have been wrong. I realize now that I was gonna put two surahs in one, but this is going long, so this is going to be split up in two. So yeah, we aim to distinguish those who believe in the life to come from those who doubt it. We aim. And who is the we here? How do we know that the we is God? We don't. The only proof we have of this is his own proclamation, his own words. Could not evil speak, say that they are good just as easily as good could say they are good? Is there something in the words? Like if I say I'm good, I'm God's messenger, does that not disprove this whole evidence? Like if I'm saying I'm God's messenger in order to disprove that this is God's messenger, does this not just prove that all of the evidence given isn't logically valid? It does not follow. It does not follow. We have no refutation. Say, pray to your so-called gods beside God. They do not control even the weight of a speck of dust in heaven or earth, nor do they have any share in them, nor are any of them any help to God. Okay? Intercession will not work with him, except by those to whom he gives permission. They will be asked, after the terror is lifted from their hearts on the day of judgment, what did your Lord speak? They will answer, the truth. He is the most high, the most great. Again, applying this critical thinking thing here, if you stand before God and he says you followed the wrong man, what will you say? Like, who did you follow? What did your Lord speak? Did your Lord speak this? Did your Lord speak this? Or was it somebody else? How will you defend your faith in this book before the Creator? Because intercession will not work with him. You cannot simply point to Muhammad and say, wasn't he your messenger? If he says no, what do you do? What justification do you have beyond, well, my ancestors followed it? What justification do you have that wasn't already used by any of the other pagans throughout history? And any of the other theists in modern history? Say, prophet, who gives sustenance from the heavens and the earth? Say, God does. An answer for them. Rhetorical. He's on to me. He figured it out. I answer all of his rhetorical questions, and now he preempts it. He goes, no, actually, I'm gonna answer that because you're just gonna say nature, and then. Okay, God does, and one party of us must be rightly guided, and the other clearly astray. I agree. One party of us must be clearly astray, but I don't think actually one of us must be rightly guided. You're half right. One party must be clearly astray. I don't think I'm rightly guided. I don't think I have any magical access to the truth. I don't think God has written high on there. I mentioned last time like this feeling of God, this feeling of divinity, and this feeling of him telling me to keep on arguing, but that's not, like, I have no presupposition that this actually is God. I think that this comes from myself. This is my own strength of character, my own strength of will, my own moral fiber that acts. Say, you will not be questioned about your sins, nor will we be questioned about what you do. Okay. You will have no chance to defend yourself. Oh well. So this is just God. Again, actually, this is worth mentioning. We, modern humans, are better than this God. We have trials where you get to defend yourself, or at least pay someone else to defend you, ideally, because apparently there are other people who have trained their whole lives for it are better at it. But our justice system is more just and more fair, and at least gives you a chance to stand up for yourself, at least gives you a chance to be refuted and be proven wrong. But not this God. So why is it that constantly humans are more moral, more loving, more just than God, more fair, more even-handed, more understanding and empathetic? Why is it that God always is imbued with all of these negative traits where he's just sort of callously disregarding any kind of criticism, callously disregarding any kind of disagreement? I like this. The people who have interpreted it as being the work of Satan, that's an interesting actually angle to do this. But oh well. Again, let's repeat it because so said that. I think the most likely the most likely explanation is that this is an invention. This is, like I said, with my own experiences, my own feelings of divinity, it comes from within. It comes from Muhammad coming up with something from his own soul being poured onto the paper, with all of his flaws and all of his advantages, whenever his sometimes advantages. Muhammad is like pouring himself onto the paper, or pouring himself into the stories because he didn't write. Like, these things come from a person. And I think that's the most likely explanation. But if it's if it really is something more than that, if it really comes from somewhere else, well, then it seems like Satan is probably a good explanation. And if it truly isn't Satan, and it truly is God, then God is evil. So there's like three different levels where I disagree with Muslims here. Is that this probably didn't come from God. If it did come from, or this probably didn't come from the supernatural. This came from a person. The second one is if it didn't come from a person, it probably came from the opposite of a kind, caring, good God. It came from the enemy of God. And if it didn't come from the enemy of God, then woe be to all of us. And there really doesn't matter if I say anything evil, because I've dug my own hole. I'm going to suffer in the hereafter pretty much no matter what. If God truly is this evil, I can just keep on slagging him off, because who cares at this point? What more can he do than eternal fire? What more can I do to defy him? That's what I'm really curious. How can I be the champion of freedom and liberty against a cruel tyrant? That's my own heaven, to stand up to God, regardless if he punishes me or not. Say, show me those you join to him as partners, Muhammad. No, indeed, he alone is God, the Almighty, the All-Wise. He alone, okay. We have sent you, prophet, only to bring good news and warning to all people. Most of them do not understand. Oh, I guess he's saying no, indeed, because I'm saying prophet, and then he's saying, actually, no, it's not the prophet. I'm just his messenger. I'm like, hiding behind God a little bit too much here. It's like almost like it's not really. It's just an excuse. And they say, if what you say is true, when will his promise be fulfilled? Like, after a very long discussion, like this is what I hear every time I hear this, is like, okay, they argued for a long time and they were like, okay, well, you're not going to give us any evidence. You're not going to give us anything but warnings, because only God can give us you proof. And you're clearly not God, so you're not going to actually give us any proof. You're just going to tell us what he told you. Yeah, right. Well, okay, then when will this proof that he actually told you the truth come? When will his promise be fulfilled? Say, you have an appointment for a day which you cannot put off, nor bring forward, even by a single moment. Do you think that would appeal to the people like me, who understand that, who are just frustrated with this lack of evidence, this lack of argumentation, this lack of reason? No, indeed. The disbelievers say, ooh, I get to be quoted again. We will believe neither this Quran nor the scriptures that came before it. Yeah. You have not given me good reason to believe, so I won't believe. If only you could see, prophet, how the wrongdoers will be made to stand before their Lord, hurling reproaches at one another. Those who were oppressed will say to the oppressors, if it were not for you, we would have been believers. So, let's be clear here. The oppressed will be punished for their oppression. The oppressed, not the oppressors. Well, they will also be punished, but the oppressed will also be punished for being oppressed, for daring to be oppressed. This is a good God? Are you kidding? Of course, like, at this point, I don't even think you believe it. I think the people who are ardently Muslims following this channel, I think you also agree with me that God is, or in your heart of hearts, agree with me that God is evil. And when faced with his evil God, unlike me, who will be proudly and happily singing that, well, I would never serve such an evil God, even knowing how powerful you were. You will all be pointing to me and saying, he made us doubt, he made us doubt, he made us doubt. He's the oppressor, we're just the victims. And this evil God will punish you, and I will be even more vindicated that someone who nominally followed everything, who seemed subservient, will also be punished alongside me for things I did. And I will be so vindicated and so much more confident in my rebellion against God. How could I not be? How could I not be proud of my willingness to stand up to ultimate power? What is more moral and admirable than rejecting a tyrant who you cannot even fight against? ja, I Befehl ist Befehl, nicht, nein. Befehl ist nicht Befehl. You can do yourself. You can strive to go above it, even though you know it'll lead to your own suffering, even though you know it'll lead to the suffering of your friends and family. You can strive above tyranny and rebel against the tyrant, and that, I think, is true moral character. The oppressors will say to them, "Was it we who prevented you from following right guidance after it reached you? No, you yourselves were sinners." Yeah, I mean, no, I'll say it's. I mean, I'll probably not be insulting people who only had a shred of doubt, who were oppressed by me. I will not. I think you're misunderstanding who I'm going to be railing against, who I'm going to be hurling insults to. The oppressed will say to them, "No, it was your scheming night and day, ordering us to disbelieve in God and set up rivals to him." When they see the punishment, they will fall silent with regret, and we shall put iron collars on the disbelievers' necks. Why should they be rewarded for anything other than what they have done? Yep, I look forward to it. I'm indeed. Yeah, when I finally have proof that God, like, the thing that's interesting here is that when I finally have proof, the proof I am told I will get is also the proof that God is evil. Like, at the same time, I will get proof of his existence and his malice at the same time. Or I will never have any proof because we'll all be dead and it'll just be an infinity of nothingness, not even a memory, not even a feeling of nothingness, not even a feeling of the passage of time, not even the sensation of space, simply an end, a closing of the curtains and a stop. Like the end of my little personal universe. So indeed. So that's why I'm afraid of death, because I think it'll just be the end. But if you're right, then in fact I do look forward to charging at the monster that apparently rules this universe. Never have we sent a warner to a community without those among them who were corrupted by wealth, saying, "We do not believe the message you have been sent with." That's a good poisoning of the well there. Yeah, I don't believe. And indeed, I am corrupted by wealth. I am living in one of the richest countries in the world per capita, and I've had a fairly decent life. I have been saved by my fellow man's compassion, though I have tried to give back as much as I can. And will continue to try. Weirdly, this is me trying. Who would have thought? They would say, "We have greater wealth and more children than you, and we shall not be punished." We have greater wealth. Yeah, one of the things I say, we don't have more children. Opposite, actually. But we have greater wealth. We have, like, and this isn't an answer to, this is like you're saying, "Oh, it's just because of your greed." Well, you keep saying that God is going to punish the disbelievers in this life and the next. Like, "Oh, they disbelieved even though messengers came to them and we punished them." Well, the most prosperous societies are the secular societies. So clearly, you both don't send messages to everyone, and you don't punish us when we don't follow these messages, or you don't punish us when we don't follow them. So either they didn't show up here, in which case you're a weakling God and you're a liar, or they did show up and we rejected them and you still did not punish us. Why is it only that the people who believe a little bit are punished, whereas the people who believe not at all are not punished? It seems strange. So that's what we mean when we say we have greater wealth and possibly more children. Like, we have not been punished. If this punishment were true, if you did genuinely punish people just for disbelieving, just in their lives, then you're too late. Say, prophet, "My Lord gives in abundance to whoever he will, and sparingly to whoever he will, though most people do not understand." No. No, indeed. This can be flipped around. "Neither wealth nor children will bring you nearer to us, but those who believe and do good deeds will have multiple rewards for what they have done and will live safely in the lofty dwellings of paradise. Whereas those who work against our messages, seeking to undermine them, will be summoned to punishment." Do what I say or else punishment. Infinite reward, infinite punishment. The promise of, at least. The promise of. No. Evidence. Evidence is for the afterlife. And at this point, you're supposed to already believe. What if God? Nah, I mean, I've made the example before. What will you say when you stand before God? I know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say, "Fuck you, God." But what will you say? Will you say, "Well, Muhammad taught me"? Well, why are you bringing up partners? Will you say that my forefathers taught me? Well, that's what Abraham and Pharaoh did. What will you say that has not already been disputed and rejected by this book? I follow the truth. So says those who follow a lie. So said all of the disbelievers. They said, I will not follow you. I will not believe in you. I will not worship you. So said all of us. We said that we will not follow a lie. And so you said, what will you say to God? My Lord gives, say my, well, there we go. Say, my Lord gives in abundance to whichever of his servants he will, and sparingly to whichever he will. He will replace you what, well, sorry. I was like confused because it feels like it's the same message. So my brain was like trivially trying to compute both of them at the same time. See if I had read it before. My Lord gives in abundance to whichever of his servants he will, and sparingly to whichever he will. He will replace whatever you give in alms. He is the best of providers. Do good. Like, this is interesting though. Like sliding in a couple good things. Like, oh, but you all know it's good to give to charity, and I'm just telling you to give to charity, so therefore I'm good. I'm also telling you much more insistently that you need to worship me and bow down before me and obey my messenger and give him pleasures that none other of you shall receive. But I'm actually a good guy because I may pay lip service for charity and goodness and kindness within your communities, not ever without your communities. Give alms to other believers. On the day he gathers them all together, he will say to the angels, was it you these people worshipped? They will reply, may you be exalted. You are our supporter against them. Really, they worship the jinn. Most of them believed in them. Well, is not... Imagine that they say that when you go to heaven, or you go to stand before God in judgment. Imagine that the angels say, say to God, you are our supporters against these humans. They say to you that you are not on their side, that really you are worshipping the jinn, and most of you believe in the jinn. That it is not angels that you worship. What will you reply? I'm curious, genuinely. I genuinely that feels like the first step of critical thinking here. So today, neither of you has any power to benefit or harm the other. We shall tell the evildoers, taste the torment of the fire which you called a lie. Okay. When our messages are recited to them, clear as they are, they say, this is only a man who wants to turn you away from what your forefathers worshipped. Like me. Like, this is exactly the same as you have said about me. This is only a man who wants to turn you away from what we worship. Like, this accusation has been leveled directly at me, just as it has been leveled now against Muhammad. Is this not a sign for those of you who use your reason? And this Quran is nothing but lies and has been, and has, that, oh sorry. This Quran is nothing but lies he has made up. When the truth comes to the disbelievers, they say, this is just plain sorcery. They mean the miracles. The stories of the miracles, at least. Nothing but lies he has made up. Yeah. Is this also, like, even if you cut out this part, this is nothing but lies he has made up. Isn't that also, like, both of these things are accusations that have been leveled against me by you. Are you not using the same language, the same trickery, the same word games as the disbelievers? Are you not at fault? Is not your reasoning not as weak as theirs is? Is that, like, genuine? Actually, if you genuinely believe, do you not want to have better reasons to believe? Is it not more impressive to God that you don't simply do all of the same mistakes? You don't simply believe for the same reasons that anyone else, that most people disbelieve. Is it not more gracious to God to face me and my criticism and actually examine your own beliefs and go, you know what? Actually, I'm not just going to believe as my forefathers did. I'm not just going to assert my own rightness. I'm not just going to reject everything that is spoken against me as lies. Is it not actually proof? Is my comment section not actually proof enough to you that you are failing in exactly the same way as the people Muhammad is speaking to have failed? Oh well. Though we have not given them any books to study nor sent any warner before you. Except the scripture? Okay, let's follow it. When the truth comes to the disbeliever, they say, this is just plain sorcery, though we have not given them any books to study nor sent any warner before you. Well, as you can tell, I have to do it the other way around. As you can tell, I have books to study, and that's one of 3. So, I spent most of my life reading. I love reading. And indeed, I've other warners. I've read the Bible before. Like, I've interacted with religious people before. So, is God lying? Or is he not speaking about me? Is he actually supportive of my efforts to bring critical thinking to the masses? His unthinking masses who followed him because he said, be warned, and instead... And now he finally realizes that actually that wasn't a great idea, that people will just implant whatever ideas they have about God. And if they don't have critical thinking, then actually maybe they won't actually do good things, even though I pretend to tell them, because you've told them much more specifically, worship me and be obedient and don't think for yourselves. Now, indeed, perhaps it is better to be a critical thinker than it is to simply listen and believe. I should title one of these I am God's messenger just to see how people react. Those who lived before them also denied the truth. These people have not attained even a tenth of what we gave their predecessors. They too rejected my messengers, and how terrible my condemnation was. Okay, even a tenth of what we give, okay? Again, we know that this is no longer true. It might have been true at some point in time, or in a very specific region at some point in time when this was being written. Definitely not true anymore. Say, prophet, I advise you to do one thing only. Stand before God in pairs or singly and think, there is no sign of madness in your companion, the prophet, in your companion. Like this. So, prophet, say, I advise you one thing only. Stand before God in pairs or singly and think, there is no sign of madness in me. That's what the prophet is saying. I am not mad, and you should tell God that I'm not mad. You should admit to God that I'm not insane. I'm not a crazy person. You are. He is the only warning. He is only warning you before severe suffering arrives. So the sin of failing to provide evidence is not Muhammad's. It's God's. Say, if I have asked you for any reward, you can keep it. It is God alone who will reward me. He is witness to everything. If I have asked you for any reward, you can keep it. Literally, the very last chapter, we're talking about him getting special rules. Well, you can keep it. Is he refuting his own special rules there? Say, my Lord hurls the truth down before you. He has full knowledge of all that is unseen. Say, the truth has come. Falsehood is powerless. I mean, you can engage with that. You know what I've said about this. Is falsehood powerless? He's hurled truth before you. He has indeed. Say, if I go astray, that is my loss. And if I am rightly guided, it is through what my Lord has revealed to me. This actually goes exactly back to what I said earlier. Anything that's evidence of God's evil, well, actually, that's just your evil. Evidence of God's good, well, actually, that is God's good. Like, evidence of goodness and evidence of evil. That's what we have. Evidence of goodness, evidence of evil. Now, I think we have in explanations for these, but you have evidence. But let's think about it just as a philosophical exercise. Evidence of good, evidence of evil. You can think of if one is proof of God's goodness, then the other should be proof of God's evilness. And if one is proof of your own evilness, then the other should be proof of your own goodness. You are the ones who do good things, and you are the ones who do evil things. These things come from you, both of them, equally. You cannot blame any Satan for your mistakes, like this book completely insists, but likewise you should embrace the fact that nobody else deserves credit for your own goodness. You are good or evil depending on you, not depending on some kindness of God. You are the person who does things. You are the locus of your own reality. But indeed, he is all hearing and ever near. Prophet, if only you could see their terror. Oh, you would be so comforted that actually I'm right and you're wrong. There will be no escape when they are seized from a nearby place. They will say, now we believe in it. But how can they reach it from such a distant place? They denied it all in the past and through conjecture from a far-off place. So wait, how can they reach it from such a distant place? They denied it like... This is madness. When a barrier has been placed between them and what they desire, just as was done with their kind before, they were deep in doubt and suspicion. Okay, let's read the whole sentence again, because I hate that they do this. Okay, so is this... Yeah. Prophet, if you could only see their terror. There will be no escape when they are seized from a nearby place. No escape when they're seized from a nearby place. They will say, now we believe in it, but how can they reach it from such a distant place? Okay. They denied it all in the past, and through conjecture from a far-off place, when a barrier has been placed between them and what they desire, just as was done with their kind before. They were deep in doubt and suspicion. So what I'm reading, or what I'm interpreting here is, I mean, it's kind of weird that they say nearby place. What I'm interpreting here is that, oh, you're so far away from God, you all of your doubt and suspicion, that makes you far away from God. I think it's opposite, probably. But all of your doubt and suspicion makes you far away from God. Actually, I don't think it's opposite. I think it's neither. But well, no, actually, I do, because what I think is God here is a metaphor for nature, for reality, and I think you do come closer to God with doubt and suspicion because these are natural feelings, and these things give us more command over nature, give us more ability to change our fates. So, how? But I guess it's already not worth reading or thinking about because I wouldn't say that. It's not addressed at me. Now we believe it. I am perfectly adamant that I will have no desire to ever kneel before this God, whether or not he is as powerful as you say he is. Maybe there's a chapter for me in that. Maybe there is a chapter for those who reject God for being evil, rather than just rejecting God because, well, you haven't given us any proof yet. Oh well, we'll see. And yeah, I guess we'll continue tomorrow.